Well, I don't know all that's true. 'Cause you got me, baby, I got you. I got you, baby. I got you, baby. Okay, campers, rise and shine, and don't forget your booties because it's cold out there. It's cold out there every day. Although Buckeye Chuck did not see his shadow, and apparently that means an early spring for us here in Ohio. The whole thing is pitiful, though. People freezing their butts off waiting to worship a rat. What a hype. We do have some things to celebrate, though. February is also Black History Month. We are going to talk about that and how it relates to mental health today and for the rest of the month. Anyway, we have some upcoming events to share. Hi, Ashley, and happy February 2nd.
Hello, happy February.
Have you ever had deja vu? I'm thinking of that Groundhog movie.
I don't know. I'll have to ask the kitchen.
I was you know what, never mind. Let's hear about those upcoming events.
Here they come. All right. So we have so much coming up in February and March. I just can't wait to tell you all about it. If you missed our Family and Friends presentation last week, no worries. We're hosting it again in February on the 17th. NAMI Family and Friends is a 2-hour presentation that informs people who have loved ones with a mental health condition how to support them. It's also a great way to gain community support. If you want to learn more about supporting someone you care about beyond that 2-hour presentation, I recommend Mental Health First Aid. Our next class is Saturday, March 27th. The class teaches a 5-step action plan to respond when someone's experiencing the symptoms of a mental health condition or in crisis. The class does include some self-paced pre-work and then a 5.5-hour instructor-led course over Zoom. In February, we're also hosting our NAMI Basics class. This is an education program for parents, caregivers, and other family who provide care for children who are experiencing mental health symptoms. The class discusses the impact of mental health conditions on the whole family and how to advocate for your child. Our next class starts on Saturday, February 20th. If NAMI Basics sounds interesting, but your loved one is over 18, I would like to recommend NAMI Family to Family. It's an educational course for family, caregivers, and friends of individuals living with a mental illness. The next class begins Monday, March 29th. The last event I wanted to share with you is our upcoming NAMI Education Series. It will be hosted on Tuesday, March 23rd, and we will have the judge of the Wood County Court of Common Pleas, Probate and Juvenile Division to provide information on the guardianship process. Those are your upcoming events. I hope to see you in February or March.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm really enjoying our busy schedule these days.
Me too.
It kind of keeps us lively.
It does. And you know what, Jessica? I'd love to stay and talk, but I'm not going to.
Okay, well then. So Courtney is coming in next to share some information about Black History Month. Hi, Courtney.
Hi.
You've ever had deja vu?
I don't know. I'll have to check with the kitchen.
Okay.
All right. So the month of February, we recognize and celebrate Black History Month. In 1926, African-American historian and author Carter G. Woodson initiated the celebration of Black History Week, which also coincided with the birthdays of abolitionist Frederick Douglass and President Abraham Lincoln. In 1976, the year of the nation's bicentennial, this week grew to become the entire month of February and has been so ever since. Many important moments in history have also happened in African American history, including the 15th Amendment passed on February 3rd, 1870, and the NAACP founded on February 12th, 1909. These few events are just a snapshot of events and people, both known, anonymous, and known, that have transformed this nation. The significance of Black History Month lies in looking back and understanding how far we have come to draw the strength and wisdom necessary to move forward in the need for freedom and justice in the African American community. At NAMI Wood County, we strive to eliminate stigma of mental illness, and mental health does vary across all cultures, which creates a need for improved cultural awareness and competence in both healthcare and mental health workforce. Specifically, those in the African American community are often at a socioeconomic disadvantage in terms of assessing both medical and mental health care. Additionally, cultural biases against mental health professionals and healthcare professionals in general may prevent many African Americans from assessing care due to prior experience with historical misdiagnoses, inadequate treatment, and a lack of cultural understanding. Mental illness is frequently stigmatized and misunderstood in the African American community, making many African Americans more likely to seek help through their primary care doctors as opposed to specialty care. All in all, you can become the change starting today and observe Black History Month proactively, as well as eliminating stigma surrounding mental health in this community. You can do this by the following. Learn more about African American legacy and history, discover what cultural competence and mental health is and its importance, speak up for minority mental health through social media platforms, and lastly, stay informed through the NAMI community's specific email updates and news. That's all for today's Mental Health in the News.
Thanks, Courtney. I appreciate all of the information.
Yeah, I would love to stay here and talk, but I'm not going to.
I feel like that's been said before. Anyway, next we are going to hear from Bree with information on finding a culturally competent provider. Hey, have you ever heard of deja vu?
I'm not really sure. I think I'd have to check with the kitchens. So, yeah. One thing I do know, though, is that cultural competence is a vital characteristic of any therapist, one that most certifying entities require therapists to embody. Cultural competence means that the counselor is aware of their biases and culture and take into consideration the client's culture and experiences and work to understand how those experiences are impacted by their culture. For example, an individual who has experienced trauma in their life wants a counselor who has taken trainings and received certifications or done research on working with patients with those experiences. Similarly, if an individual who identifies with the Hindu religion seeks counseling, but the therapist identifies with Christianity, it is the job of the therapist to do the research necessary to provide culturally competent care. It is unlikely that the counseling will be beneficial for the client if the therapist does not take into consideration the impact of culture and religion on the client or is not aware of how to work with individuals who have experienced trauma. So, how do you find a culturally competent therapist? Let's talk about it. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Just because your therapist has a degree and is licensed, it does not mean that you can't ask them questions. It is your care and you deserve to have the best quality. If you can, try to stick with the therapist for a few sessions, but don't be afraid to seek a different therapist if it's not working for you. Like many important relationships in life, the relationship between the therapist and the client needs to be a good fit. If this does not mean that you will or need to feel comfortable from the very first session, but that ideally you'll develop a good level of trust with this therapist over time. However, many Black, Indigenous, and persons of color, those that are clients, find themselves constantly having to educate their therapists on race and privilege and the impact of those things, which is not only exhausting, but can also lead clients to feel unsafe in their own environment. If you don't feel heard, or more importantly, safe in your treatment, don't be afraid to seek out a different therapist. Lastly, don't assume that your therapist will be culturally competent or understand you just because they share identities with you. Your therapist, regardless of their identities, should make an effort to understand your specific lived experience and to treat you with respect and empathy. In the comments of today's video, you can find links to websites that offer examples of questions to ask your therapist, as well as why cultural competence matters for minority communities. Advocate for yourself and the care you need. Back to you, Jessica.
Thank you, Bree. I love all the tips in finding the right therapist.
Thanks. I was really happy to share it with you. I'd love to continue this little chat, but I'm not going to. So thank you.
Okay, well, now I know I've definitely heard that before. Next, we have Shari sharing some self-care tips.
Jessica Hartman. Jessica Hartman, is that you? Now don't tell me you don't remember me, because I sure as the heck if I remember you.
So I'm almost afraid to ask, but have you ever had deja vu?
I'm really not sure, but I'll have to check in the kitchen. So today I'm going to be talking about routines and how they are good to keep people in either a good place or another tool for sobriety. Set your daily routines and nighttime routines to how you want. You can either have a set time to do things in the morning or have a few things that you want to do by, say, 8 o'clock in the morning. You can have a different routine for the days that you work, the days that you have off, for holidays, and maybe for the anniversaries days that you may need to take some extra time for yourself. Whatever you decide to do, be sure it is right for you. I would love to stay here and talk with you, but I'm not going to.
Well, thanks, Shari. I'm done. And we're done. So thanks for watching. You know that one time where television really fails to capture the true excitement of the large squirrel predicting the weather. So, see you next week.